Welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about the paddle shifters, and just recently Rick, who was a viewer on the channel, asked if I would do a video on paddle shifters, and I know there's been a few others over the last year who have asked me as well. I apologize for it taking so long to finally get to this video, but it's another cloudy day here in Tucson, so I thought it'd be a good day to make a video. We're inside the car and we're going to go over just a few quick things, and then we'll go for a drive so you can kind of see this in action. If you don't know, the CVT transmission on the Limited and on the premium model Crosstrek and some of the other Subaru models comes with paddle shifters equipped. So here on the left, this is the shifter that you use to go down a virtual gear, and on the right, that's the shifter you use to go up a virtual gear. There are actually two ways that you can use the paddle shifters. You can use them either while you're in just the D mode, and while you're driving along you can either click down or click up, or you can push the gear shifter over into M mode and you're shifting completely manually. It's all up to you basically. Let's talk about those two situations real quickly. Let's say you're driving along, you're in D mode, and for whatever reason you decide that you want to downshift real quick to give yourself a little bit more power to pass somebody. So if you're cruising along, say you're 40 miles an hour, you downshift real quick, you'll hear the RPMs pop up, you then hit the gas, accelerate around somebody, and then get back in your lane and just keep cruising. The nice thing about when you're in D, but you're using the shifters, is after you do your shifts and you don't touch them again, the car will automatically start shifting in a regular fashion again. If you are in M mode, you basically have to do all the shifting yourself, at least on the up gear way. The nice thing about the car, let's say you're cruising along, for some reason you have it in manual mode, and you're going stoplight to stoplight, just kind of having fun, and then you get distracted, you forget you're in manual mode, and you come to a red light. The car will actually put you in first gear at the light. You will still have to shift up, and you'll remember you're in manual mode pretty quick, because the RPMs will go way up and they won't shift, and you'll be like, what the heck's going on? But it will actually downshift for you when you come to a stop. Why would you use paddle shifters? A lot of people think they're just kind of a waste. Why are they even on the car? Because they never want to touch them. It's not like this is a sports car where, you know, gear shifts like in a 911 or something are so fast and so good that they're even faster than manual transmissions. I mean, back in the day, quarter mile and for racing, etc., manuals were the way to go. It's not that way anymore. Why would you use the paddle shifters at all? Well, we talked about one example, and that was, say you want to downshift to accelerate around somebody. I've talked about it in the past, but when I had my 2014 and I would kind of load the car up and I'd throw bikes on the roof, and then we'd go up to Flagstaff. And so on I-17 from Phoenix to Flagstaff, there's quite a few long sections, like miles of 7% grade. So as you know, the Crosstrek isn't exactly the most powerful vehicle out there, and when you throw basically a big wind catcher, two bikes on the top of the roof, and then load it down with people, and you're going up a 7 or 8% grade and trying to maintain 75 miles an hour, the car actually kind of struggled a little bit. And if you were to leave it in drive in that situation, basically what you're going to get the car doing is downshifting so that you can stay at 75, you know, and you really get that loud engine noise, you know, where the RPMs kick up. And then once you kind of get to a point where the transmission wants to shift, it'll shift you back up. And then the car will realize again, hey, I need more power, it'll downshift. So you're basically doing this back and forth, up and down shifting, because Subaru programs these CVTs basically to provide the best gas mileage they can. So that's one of the reasons it does it. So going up those grades, what I would do is I would actually throw it in manual mode, and I would control the RPMs, and I would just put it in a gear that would allow me to maintain high RPM and maintain my 75 miles an hour on those stretches of road that I needed to do that. So that was really one of the main areas that I would use the paddle shifters in this car. One of the other times I use it, so let's say you're coming up to a light and you're in drive and you decide you don't want to brake, you don't want to slow down all the way, so you can just downshift a couple times and use your engine braking to slow you down before you get to the light, so you don't come to a complete stop, and then you can just accelerate away when the light changes. And I also use it in that sense when I'm off-road. Sometimes I'll put it in manual mode and downshift when I'm coming down like a steep hill that I want to control my speed on, or I'll just downshift in drive and do the same thing. And it works really well using that engine braking to do that. Especially like on Mount Lemmon, it's got a lot of curves to it, and you're coming down, and people do not know how to drive on that road, so they're always braking. So it's nice, just a good way to save your brakes, not overheat them. Those are some of the examples of when I like to use the paddle shifters and why I like them. I don't use them all that often, but now and then it's kind of fun to use them. All right, with all of that said, let's go for a quick drive, and we will kind of check out how the paddles work while we're cruising along and get a visual on how that works. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to give you a demonstration of using the paddle shifters while I'm in D mode, and then using the paddle shifters while I'm in manual mode. So like we talked about, if we're cruising along and for some reason we would like to use the paddle shifters to either downshift or upshift, we just go ahead and do it. At this point, since we're cruising along at about 40-45 miles an hour, the car is probably already in 6th gear, so it's not going to do anything when we go up. So you can see it's not going to hurt anything. If we want to go down, just hit the shifter down, and you'll see the RPMs are jumping up, and it's showing now we're in 4th gear. But watch the number, it'll shift right back to drive. And the reason it does that is because you're still in D mode, obviously, but secondly, because really the CVT's whole goal is to provide good gas mileage. So it's going to get you out of that mode as quickly as possible. But if you want to downshift and then accelerate to pass somebody, it'll do it. And it'll shift for you. It shifted for me at 6,200 RPM. And then if I just brake and I don't touch the shifters again, that guy was on my side of the road. Did you see that? Old guy in a truck almost hit us. But it went right back to D mode. And that's really what it does. So it's kind of a nice thing. Again, one of the ways I use it is if I'm coming to a stop and I don't feel like braking because I know the light's going to change, I'll just downshift, use the engine to brake the car, and then accelerate away when the light finally changes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our shifter and we're going to actually put it in manual mode. And you could do that at any speed. It's not going to hurt anything. And so here we got the magical 7th gear. So this is the overdrive gear that Subaru added or programmed into the CVT. So that's really nice, and I really think that's responsible for getting us better gas mileage these days. Whatever gear you happen to be in, let's say we put it back to drive now. Whatever gear you happen to be in when you push over, that's where it's going to take you. This time we're in 6 because I gave it a little bit of gas. We are in manual mode, we're cruising along, and now we are responsible for all of the upshifts. Like we talked about earlier, the car will actually downshift for you if you forget to shift while you are driving. And I just want to get to a side street here, excuse me, and I'll show you that function. All right, so we're going to turn left here, and I'm just going to downshift. I'm in 2nd. Now, as we pull away from here, you'll notice the car is not going to shift for me because I'm in manual mode. So you'll know right away if for some reason you forgot. You'll know by the RPM. So this will actually go all the way up to 6 grand, and it's not going to shift. So I'm going to shift, take us back to where we want to go, and then up here I'm going to slow down and I'm going to stop, and you'll see how the car will actually downshift automatically for you. All right, so we are stopping, and you see that the car downshifted for me. All right, so now I'm going to accelerate away, just another example, and you'll see that the car will not shift, and it's just going to go right up to 6,000. And that's manual mode, and that's really, honestly, that's all there is to it. One other brief thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't mention earlier is you see the 7 for the quote-unquote gear 7. And right next to it you see a little down arrow. That basically indicates to you where you can shift. I mean, it's basically telling you there is no more gears up, so you can go down. And at this point, it's saying 6th gear, and it's really not offering you 7th gear for whatever reason. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It's all dependent on, I think, speed and RPM. The computer basically just kind of figures it out for you. If I go down one more to 5th, it'll now show you that I can go up or down. And if you go to 4th, it's the same way. My guess is if you get too close, yeah, so now I'm in 2nd gear and it's basically saying, dude, don't go to 1st, that would be bad. So we'll go back up and it gives you the options, and that's just to give you an idea of what to do and where to go. All right, guys, so I hope that was helpful. This is not a comprehensive look at paddle shifters, but at least gives you an idea of how they work, what they're for, and what are some ways that you can actually use them, incorporate them into your daily driving. You know, I think I like the option of having them on the car. It's kind of a nice feature to have if you just want to have more control over your RPMs and where the power band is. Again, the car's, you know, the Crosstrek's not a fast vehicle, but at least it's, you know, it's nice if you're going up grades or curvy roads or whatever, you can kind of at least put yourself in the best position to have fun and to keep the RPMs up where they're supposed to be. So thank you guys so much for watching, supporting the channel. It means the world to me. And please like and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And we will see you next time. Thanks, guys.